Welcome back, guys, to another edition of the Mind of Opex. Q, no intro. The fuck, Opex. So I've definitely been thinking about getting rid of this channel and starting a new one that isn't provocative. And then all my provocative, or rather thought-provoking stuff will be on Odyssey. But we'll try it again. Let's see if I can get more than 50 views on this video. No fault to you guys. And if you guys don't like my content, I understand. But the way the algorithm was going for a couple years, and then all of a sudden you make a couple videos about the elites in power and real shit, and then all of a sudden but that's not what this video is about. Let's dive into it, shall we? We're not queuing on the intro. I want to talk about sugar. Yeah, it's a big one. I've talked about this many times before. I've talked about it almost entirely on its own, but at least in that video, addictive additives. But I want to talk about sugar just isolated by itself. The reasons why I want you guys to cut down at least on sugar, if not just getting it right out of your everyday consumption. Oh, where do I begin with this? This might be a long video, but we're gonna make it as quick as possible. All right, I gotta stop with that. All right. So sugar. It is an addictive additive that's added to your groceries. Whether it's your water, now you got a sody water and, sugar water, and they have sugar and salt in your Gatorades and everything, I've noticed a lot more additive salts and sugars in my coffees, whether that's ground coffee like Folgers or Maxwell House. Seriously, try it, guys, and tell me how salty it tastes in today's day and age. But they're adding these addictive additives into everything. All right, let's just start from the beginning. I think starting it where I started it was a good start, but we can't keep on that path. Let's start from the beginning. Actually, let's start around the 1600s in the U.S. In the 1600s in the U.S., what do you guys think the amount of sugar consumption in America was? Virtually zero. Because the only types of sugar they were able to receive was the very, very few amount of fruits they had, like apples, and things that break down into sugar through the metabolism process, like potatoes and starches, breads that break down into sugar. So people didn't really have much to consume in terms of sugar in the 1600s. That's why people didn't just die of a heart attack at the age of 30, like you're seeing crazy shit like that happening today. Let's go forward to the 1700s, then all of a sudden now there's a lot more fruit trees in America. 1800s, even more fruit trees and citrus trees in California and Florida, etc., right? So these new rises of fruit trees started increasing the sugar consumption in America. In the 1800s, it kept continuing until then all of a sudden the rise or demand for sugary stuff increased. They started to make what's known as candy, with artificial fruit flavors, because that's the only way they were able to get their sugar. There was no cane sugar production in the United States prior to 1800s. So when the cane sugar started to rise, they started to implement new syrups and sugars and different candies and chocolates. When these things started to happen in the 1800s, people started to consume more. In the 1900s, the early 1900s, there became supermarkets. Before then, there was no such thing as supermarkets. But with the rise of supermarkets and the availability of candies and sugars and and other items other than the regular market, which would have been food, people started to consume and purchase a lot more sugars and started having a lot more problems. So with the rise of sugars, increased the rise, or was a direct correspondent of heart attacks, strokes, different diseases, autoimmune problems. Now, you might be thinking, well, Opex, aren't you someone who studied virology? You understand virology? Isn't that how you get autoimmune problems, like HIV? No, and I'm not going to dive in too much in that. HIV does not kill you. It's the immune problems that kill you. And what gives you immune problems? HIV? No, not necessarily. Look at Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson took out all the sugar out of his diet. He's still walking around today. But if you had sugar in your diet, and I'm going to explain this very simply. If you have sugar in your diet and you have HIV, it's going to expedite those problems that you receive. So like HIV hijacks a cell. You can say any RNA virus for that matter, the common cold. We don't have to name which viruses, but any RNA virus, they hijack a cell, turning it into a zombie cell. That zombie cell is neither dead nor alive now. It is hijacked, and it is the virus hides from your immune system. So what happens is when it hides, it wants to reproduce, it wants to wreak havoc on your system, but it can't because you have this thing called an immune system, right? So it's not the virus that's attacking your immune system. It's not that. It's just hiding, trying to replicate, trying to survive, trying to reproduce. How it destroys your immune system is when you destroy your immune system, letting it wreak havoc. How do you destroy your immune system? Cancer. Cancer is mostly induced through chemicals like sugar. What sugar does to a cell is it utterly destroys a cell, creating a zombie cell. And what did we say a zombie cell is? Cancer. It spreads cancer. It allows your immune system to be compromised. And when your immune system's compromised, what does it do? What does like all the viruses in your body want to do? Whether it's HIV or herpes or you name it, common cold, no matter what it is, will try to replicate and try to do what it has to do to survive and to replicate and to etc. because that's the time to do it. It's when your immune system's compromised. If your immune system's not compromised, it cannot reproduce because your immune system will destroy it on sight. So it waits till your immune system's compromised. Your immune system can be compromised through alcohol, which is just a hyper-extended form of sugar, or you can get it through sugar. And it doesn't matter which source of sugar you get it from. So sugar, now that I've explained it simply for you, sugar expedites cancer, expedites your immune system's death. Your compromised nature of your immune system's all to do with sugar. Now that you understand that, understand about 100 years ago, before supermarkets came to be, the average person didn't really consume much sugar, even though they did have candies and shit back then. But there wasn't sugar in everything. I mean, lemonade back then was lemons and water. There was still no sugar, right? So they started adding sugar to every fucking thing. Today, the average person, by the age of 8 years old, the average person by the age of 8. Alright, it's fucking hot in Florida. I gotta roll down these windows now that I'm home. The average person by the age of 8 in today's world has already consumed 10 times that of which was consumed by the full age of a human 100 years ago. 10 times the full age. How does that make sense? Because even if they were consuming at the same rate, it would be about even, right? But we're consuming so much more sugar today, which is affecting your immune system, which is affecting your insulin levels, which is affecting everything about you. And I will try to explain the next part simply. If you're consuming sugar, sugar's a water-soluble salt, right? So sugar is water-soluble. Now you take the sugar from your Gatorade, your drink, your whatever it may be, you take that sugar, you drink it, it does not metabolize in the gut. Oh, no, 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 no. It does not metabolize in the gut. What metabolizes sugar? Your liver. So if it's your liver that metabolizes the sugar, that means it has to run its course, and then it's pushed into your bloodstream. And this bloodstream, if you're having tons of sugar, it's not going to be able to metabolize all that sugar through your liver if you have an abundance of it. So if you have an abundance of it all in your bloodstream, what's happening here? In your bloodstream, those salts are water soluble. If there's not enough liquid to liquidate the salt or the sugars, it hardens, it solidifies again. Now what happens when you have plaque and solidification of sugars? Heart attacks, strokes. That's how you get it, guys. It's not eating too many fats. That's not how you get it. You get it by sugar. Sugar's the number one form of heart attacks and strokes. And do you guys know what the number one form of death in America is, let alone the world? Heart attacks, stroke, cardiovascular disease. So sugar is the number one form of death in America, let alone the world. Wake up. Guys, sugar's in everything. Stop consuming sugar. The more you're purchasing the sugar products and the sugary this, the sugary that, you're putting sugar in your coffee. First off, I've said this for years. If you don't like the taste of something, you add something to it. If you don't like the taste of shrimp, you add butter to it. Because you didn't like the shrimp anyways. So you got to make it taste better. Same thing with everything, right? If you got to add sugar to your coffee, you don't like the flavor of coffee. You don't like coffee. Just admit it. You don't like coffee. You like sugar. That's what you like. So a lot of people are hooked on the sugar, which is affecting your cardiovascular health, which is affecting your insulin levels, which is affecting your immune system, which is affecting your happiness. And if we're consuming loads amount of sugar more than before, okay, even if you take this juice, which I shouldn't have bought, but it's a great example, because it doesn't matter if it's good sugar or bad sugar, it's all sugar. Pineapple juice. Just got this at Aldi. 28 times 8. Oh no, it's like 200 something. Maybe 220 or something. Something like that. If I drink the whole thing here, 220 grams of sugar. 220. Think about it for a second. You think that a smoothie's good because it has bananas and greens and all these nice things. But what you're doing is you're putting loads of sugar directly into your bloodstream. Way too much sugar for your body to metabolize through the liver. So it just stays in the bloodstream and coagulates and just fucking solidifies in parts that it shouldn't. Because that's where it's ending up and being deposited into. I'll give you an example of salts that solidify. In Utah, there is the salt flats. Used to be an ocean there, right in Utah. An ocean that dried up after years and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It ended up drying up. And because it dried up, what's left is the sediments of salt. Those salts are there. You can see it with your own eyes. And if you licked it, it's saltier than the ocean because of how concentrated it became after thousands of years of water getting out and then being stuck with all these deposits. Now think about your liver unable to metabolize sugar because for all of human existence, we didn't have sugar to consume like this. And unless you were in certain parts of certain areas, you didn't have cane sugar either. So it was almost impossible for most humans, for all of human existence up until recently, to consume any portion of sugar other than rices and potatoes and certain fruits and cane. Other than these things, how are you getting your sugar? Or at least to these levels that spike your insulin. Now you take that juice, you go, juice or smoothies or any type of sugary drink, you're going straight into your bloodstream, which is skyrocketing your levels of insulin, which is, of course, what goes up must come down. So after you're like, ooh, I'm so loopy and crazy, sugar rush, and what happens in an hour? Then you're, boom, I need more sugar again. Now, if you cut out all the sugar in your diet, all of it, just say, I don't want no more sugar. Oh, this has 1 gram of sugar in it, I'm not consuming it. If you start doing that, what happens to your insulin levels? Oh, it balances because you're not having spikes. If you're balancing it, that means you're not consuming it. How do you get away from a heroin thing like this, right? You do heroin, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours later, however long it takes, depending on how you're using it, you're going to, and a lot of people know, when you're craving heroin and you're down during the withdrawal period, it's rough. But that's what you're going through every fucking day on sugar. What goes up must come down. Now what happens when you stop taking heroin? You don't have this roller coaster anymore. If you use that same logic with sugar, boom. Get the fuck out of sugar. Start taking care of yourself. Start smiling. Start having beautiful eyes. And instead of these old beat eyes and start looking like, I hate being at work. And I have that 2:30 feeling every fucking minute of every day. And no, get rid of it. This does include alcohol. This does include rice, if it breaks down into sugar. Potatoes, it breaks down into sugar. Breads, it breaks down into sugar. And then the only way to metabolize it is after it's already gone through its course in your bloodstream and then deposited in certain areas way before it even touches your liver. And then has to go do that same process again because your liver can't metabolize the amount of sugar that you're intaking. So, number 1 form of death in the world, we have basically established it's all because of sugar. It's all because of sugar. Now, some of you guys know that there was a huge campaign in I'd like to say the 60s, talking about how the sugar companies were basically blaming the cardiovascular problem on fats, like butter and, like fat in your meat. There's nothing wrong with fat in your meat. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't clog your arteries. See, what happens here is when you take in sugar and it goes through your metabolism, your gut, it doesn't digest it. It goes through and murders, because it's high concentration of sugar. Same thing if it was a 10% alcohol or more, it kills all your bad or your good gut biome, your whole microorganisms that help digest and break down food, your fungi in your system, everything that's in your gut. There's a huge micro ecosystem called a microbiome that's in your gut, tiny organisms, fungi, bacteria, things of this nature that break down foods for you because our body can't break it down ourselves. So when we need assistance, you're putting in all the sugar, which is murdering all that bacteria and leaving it and feeding the bad bacteria, the ones that feed on sugar. And most of those bacterias are very harmful for us that feed on sugar. So you're wiping out everything that's good in your body, and you're feeding the ones that feed on cancer. So you're promoting cancer, you're promoting bad bacteria, which is essentially murdering you, making you feel, oh, I don't feel so good. It's because of these roller coasters of sugar. You have deposits of sugar all in your body. You're not able to digest it or metabolize it properly. And then all of a sudden, it goes into what's your arteries, clogging your arteries. Now, what the sugar does with the plaque in the sugar is it creates what's known as like a membrane around your arteries. So your body's supposed to metabolize things and excrete things out of your system through sweat glands and other types of ways, through glands, to get these toxins out, because sugar is a toxin. It's toxic to our body, but it's unable to because that membrane becomes very thick and gross, and it keeps the sugar in. Now, when you're naturally sweating, you sweat out, of course, like if you taste what you sweat out, it's going to taste salty, right? The reason why we're sweating out salt is because it's toxin. Other salts like sugars are toxins too, and that should be sweat out as well. But you probably don't taste it, do you? You probably don't taste it, but you are sweating out to some degree, just not to the degree you should to get that toxin out of there. So when you urinate toxins. That toxin is not safe to drink because you're getting rid of all those toxins in your body that was metabolized through the liver or in your arteries and veins, mostly your arteries, which is creating detoxification. But the problem is you're not being detoxed because of that membrane that's not letting that sugar escape, which is solidifying and creating all these types of cardiovascular problems, which can kill you. Eventually will kill you, according to the statistics. And, if everything I'm saying is correct, you better start taking care of yourself. Anyways, so the bloodstream can't extract that sugar. And if your body's trying to extract the toxins and you're just being filled with toxins and your body's not able to get rid of it, what do you think's happening? You're a heart attack waiting to happen. There's no open heart surgery that's going to save you. So, all you can do is prevent it. Because once you have a year full of sugar, 2 years full of sugar, now you're 30 years old, now you're 60 years old, you're at higher risk every moment you are alive of death. Now, it shouldn't be like that. It should be you're only at higher risk of death when you are immune compromised, if you are having a lot of sugars. But the sugars are what expedites our death and our harm to our body. Now, sugar, there's tons of other things I can get into, but I'm already 24 minutes into this, and this will take forever if I don't continually go fast and just get through some of this information. But sugars are the problem. And I kind of explained how sugars are what makes you immune compromised. Let's talk about your teeth, right? So, your teeth. Sugars dissolve the enamel on your teeth, or have you ever seen the cleaning power of Coca-Cola? Oh, it cleans the rust right off your vehicle. Well, what do you think that's doing to your body? First off, it's killing every cell in contact with it, pretty much. I mean, it's not like an instant death, but it's like a cancer effect, right? You're spreading cancer to every cell that's touched by this sugar. And what's happening here? Your teeth are being dissolved. It's when you have a toothache. The toothache happens because of essentially like a microorganism like bacteria reproducing and spreading and becoming stronger. Now, how does that happen in your teeth? Well, you get a hole in your tooth, right? And it gets to your nerve. But is it air hitting your nerve that's the problem? No. What is the problem? When in your tooth, bacteria, of course your mouth has more germs and bacteria and shit and microorganisms more than your asshole. So you have tons of germs and microbacteria all living in your saliva, in your mouth. Tons, thousands, millions, trillions, right? So you have so much, you have a whole ecosystem. So if any sugar gets into your mouth, it's killing all the good bacteria and promoting the growth of that bad bacteria that can cause problems like infections. And if you are immune compromised, that's how we spread this cancer or this toothache problem. So sugar gets in there, it feeds the bad bacteria. As the bad bacteria replicates, and of course 98.6 degrees is perfect temperature for these bacteria to reproduce, and it's safe from tons of external threats, UV, etc. So it's in your tooth that sugar ate away at, and then now is feeding the bad bacteria, which is promoting more and more growth, and that's how infections happen. Now, could you get infected without sugar? Yes, but the great thing is you have an immune system. How does that immune system work when you're full of sugar? Not very good. Your immune system is weakened by sugar. You have tons of sugar build up in your arteries, and what happens when these your immune system and these T cells and all these different fighter immune system cells try to get through all that sugar? You're killing your immune system. So then your immune system's compromised because there's going to be less of it. There's less cells looking for invaders and infections because they're dying by the sugar. And then all these salt, or the sugar, is creating cancer throughout your body, which is spreading the effect of viruses and bacteria and other things that could harm you. Now, all of that stuff is all ramped up, and it's all because of sugar consumption. If there was no sugar consumption, you'd have a greater immune system count with defender cells, and then less bacteria because you're able to defend these cells often. But if you're unable to, like, let's say this. If you're drinking sugar and eating sugar, what happens to your teeth? They dissolve. Then there's a hole in there to your nerve, and that feeling of your nerve getting, and you're like, I fucking hate toothaches. It's because of sugar. It's not because you didn't brush your teeth 3 times a day. It's because you have sugar buildup, and that sugar is a salt, which is water soluble, which is going to stay in certain crevices of your teeth and in your mouth, which is decaying your teeth and then ripping away at that enamel, which is, there's tons of bacteria and shit in your mouth. But the good bacteria and the bad bacteria, they all fight against each other, and it becomes a balanced ecosystem. But when you add sugar in there, it kills all the all the good bacteria, and you're left with all the bad bacteria. Then the bad bacteria gets into spots that can infect you, and then they spread like wildfire. And that's what, that pain of that tooth is. And then the dentist says, well, I told you to brush your teeth 3 times a day, which has nothing to do with nothing. And then you have all these problems, and then all of a sudden he says, yeah, we gotta get rid of it, or we gotta fill that cavity, or we gotta pull the tooth, or you got a root canal. You get all these problems because of one problem: sugar. Now tell me, if you ate steak and eggs and broccoli, and that was your meal every fucking day, steak, eggs, broccoli, nothing else, no sugars, and water, obviously. Water. Now, this is all you ate every fucking day. Every fucking day. Tell me, how long does it take till you get a toothache? It'll never happen because there's nothing eating away at your enamel. Plaque is a natural way to protect your enamel. I'm going too deep in that. Maybe that's a video for another time. But the point is, it's not because, oh, I forgot to brush my teeth, now I got a toothache and I got to pull a tooth because I forgot to scrub the bristles against. No, no, no. With your sugary toothpaste with mint flavor or spearmint or wintergreen. Yeah, that's sugar, guys, that you're putting on your teeth. Okay, I told you that might be another video thing. All right, so sugar. Sugar is harmful. And until you guys understand that, you can't fix it. Once you understand it, once you understand it's creating cancer in you, it's creating autoimmune problems, it's weakening your bones and your teeth and your all these things that come in contact with the deposits of the salt sugar buildup. This is the problem. Is the problem that you need to work out, you need to exercise? No. You've seen people, there's a guy in China that lived to 120 years old. He never worked out. He never even really moved. You don't have to work out. You have to work out if you're eating garbage. Then you have to work out. You have to exert energy to build up your heartbeat, your heart rate, which flushes your system or detoxifies it and tries to push the sugar and the salts out and all those toxins out. And have your body metabolize it at whatever rate it can, which is not much. Don't quote me, but let's just say it metabolizes a gram of sugar an hour. I'm probably low on that spectrum, but okay, 2 grams of sugar an hour. How much did I say this drink was right here? How long will it take me to metabolize this whole, what did we say? This is over 200 grams of sugar. So what? 8 days? Just to metabolize this? How many? Okay. So what happens to all the sugar? 200 grams is going to be in my system until I can digest it, where it's killing everything along the process. You want all your teeth? Stop eating sugar. You want to stop going to the doctor? Stop eating sugar. Start looking at labels if you have to. Drink what's known as water. 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 This one's just the BPA free, which means basically the plastic isn't seeping into the water bottle. But find out these things. If you care about your health, you care about your kids, stop feeding them sugar. So I work at a gas station right now. Don't expect me to work there much longer. But right now I work at a gas station. I work at a gas station that has less than $1 large drinks. Large sodas out of the fountain. And people go there every day, and for like $1, you can have a huge 100-ounce cup that you bring in yourself that you can get for $1 from our fountain. And think of it. You get a fucking large Coca-Cola, 100 ounces for $1, and you do that every fucking day. I see these people. So I know firsthand they're not healthy. They have problems breathing. They're shaky when they get to the register because, what did I say about insulin levels? Kind of like when a heroin addict doesn't have his fix. Same thing with sugar. And of course, if you stop sugar cold turkey right now with the amount that you're consuming, okay, your body's used to this or needs the roller coaster effect. But no, after about a week, yes, it might take a week, might take 3 days, might take a week for your balance to be balanced out. And if you're in balance, you're in equilibrium. You're able to think clearly. You have more clarity. You have more strength because your body's able to do what it needs to do. Your heart's going to be fresher. And you're able to do things much better without sugar. Your teeth's going to be happy. You're not going to be immune compromised, and every fucking winter you're going to, oh, I got a big flu bug. You got the flu because of sugar. Straight up. You got HIV, so does everyone. Everyone's got these viruses in them. But the only way they wreak havoc is through sugar. I hope I explained it good enough. I think I did. And we don't have to keep going. We're 35 minutes into this, and we will stop there. Keep it there. So expect more videos, just not as often. I want to start a workout channel because I already have the Mind of Opex, which is getting demonetized. It was never monetized, but it's getting deplatformed pretty much. Why don't we do the Body of Opex? Because we've explained the philosophy, we've explained your happiness and longevity, but I'd love to show you guys how to work out for your happiness and longevity as well, to become your greatest version. That's obviously the whole point of this video, is to better you. I've shown through the years on this channel things that have bettered me, things that have bettered other people. I've tried to explain things simply over the years, saying, you know, sugar's not good for you, and here's the reasoning why. Feel free in the comments below if you don't agree with any of my information to explain to me, you know, thoroughly what the hell I did wrong or said wrong. Which I say things wrong all the time, and I say things I don't mean, so it does happen. And I definitely would like the right information. I don't care if I'm right, I just want the right information. And I think we're all in this thing together. I think if we all took a few seconds to help each other every day, just a few seconds, help an old lady across the street, tell that kid, you know, just, you see a kid at Walmart, smile at the kid, right? Make the world a better place. And I think that's the goal of my channel, is to make your life better, even though I don't get the views, even though YouTube hates me, and YouTube does not want anyone like me alive. They want doctors and drug pushers and, you know, these people that sell you sugar. They want those people because there's a huge agenda. And the agenda is depopulation and population control. It's the agenda. It always has been, always will be. It's been thousands and thousands of years it's been this way. So it's no surprise to me that they use this thing called sugar, which is so addicting and so unavailable to us, and it's such a toxin, and we just love it. Oh, man, when will we wake up? Get away from sugar, start taking care of yourself, become your greatest version. It's Opex. I'm out.